make an updated cost of living in Winston-Salem video because the last one I made was a few years ago, and as we all know, things have really changed since then. You know, the price of housing has gone through the roof. Winston-Salem was not immune to that. We saw our median sales price really climb over that time as well. So we're going to talk about that and then everything else that goes into the cost of living when you're looking to move somewhere else. And there are some areas where, you know, compared to that video a couple years ago, where there are some areas where Winston-Salem has improved. There's some where it slipped. We're going to talk about all of them in this video. And if you're thinking about moving here, you can reach out to me. My contact information is on the screen and it's in the description below. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the median sales price of a home in Winston-Salem versus the rest of the country. If you take a look at this chart from the Fed, you're going to see that the average sales price at the end of the third quarter of 2024, so this is their most recent data, was a little over $420,000 as a median across the country. And you know, some places in, you know, Orlando, Florida might be 600,000 or 700,000, and California might be $1 million, but you know, across the country, median sales price is $420,000. When you compare that to Winston-Salem, you're going to see Winston-Salem is about 30% less on its median sales price. This is a huge savings for most people, and one of the things that really brings, you know, some initial interest to the area. Our median sales price here is $295,000. That is for the entire of Forsyth County, so Winston-Salem and some of the surrounding suburbs. Coincidentally, that is also the same median sales price for our MLS in general, so when you factor in Greensboro, High Point, those surrounding areas, that's our median sales price for the entire Triad area. So this is where the bulk of savings is going to come if you're looking to buy a house, is going to be when you Winston-Salem versus the rest of the country. It's why a lot of people are coming here. They'll cash out equity in a more expensive state, you know, Austin, Texas, Florida, California, things like that, or wherever. Come here, take some of the equity. They can get a really nice house for less money. But one thing I want to point out that's important to know about the strength of the real estate market here in general. If you take a look at that Fed chart again, you're going to see that the median sales price for the country peaked back in 2022. And if you take a look at the Winston-Salem chart again, you're going to see our sales price peaked this year in 2024. So that just is a testament to the overall resiliency of the real estate market in Winston-Salem. It's still going strong. It's not, you know, going leaps and bounds like it was, but it is still kind of steadily increasing. But important to note, when you're looking at a 30% savings versus the median sales price, that is a huge number. When you combine that with the quality of life and other things like that, still makes Winston-Salem a really appealing place for people to come to. All right, next we're going to talk about gas, vehicle gas, and then utility prices. And when I'm recording this today, AAA had the average price for gas across the country at $3.05 per gallon. And I just saw in Winston-Salem here, we had $2.79 was our regular unleaded. So about 26 cents less than the national average. And that's another one of those things that really adds up over time. It's something that you're going to need, you know, right up there with housing. You got to get to work, got to get to the store, things like that. So this is a place where I see people save a lot of money, is on the cost of fuel. Utility prices, a little bit tougher to track down, but here's what I can tell you, because you know, you look at one source that says Winston-Salem is a little bit lower than national average, and you look at another one that says it's about the same or a little bit higher in some cases. So I'll just tell you kind of what I'm paying for my utilities, so that way you can compare directly to what you're paying. And just for context, you know, it's my two sons and I that live in this house, and we have a little bit above average size home, but it is a 4-bedroom house, so you can kind of work these numbers as you're just kind of thinking things through on your own. But the cost of electricity, our average bill is around $100 to $120 a month. That's kind of summer prices. Now, I've seen people online say their utility bills are $200 a month. And I mean, I'm not like an energy miser or anything like that. I just don't know how those bills get that high. I've never had one that high since I've lived in Winston-Salem for over 5 years now. In the summer, yes, if it's really hot out, they do go up a little bit, but not a ton more than that. That's kind of a good average. In the wintertime, when I lived at my first house here, we had a heat pump, and I would have actually higher electric prices in the wintertime versus the summer, because the heat pump just runs a lot more if we had a colder winter, and that got a little bit more expensive. And those prices were about $160, maybe $170 on some months if it was really cold. At the house I live in now, we have a gas furnace, so we don't run, you know, we don't use electric to heat in the wintertime. And speaking of natural gas prices, those really fluctuate. So at my house now, we have a gas powered furnace, we have a gas fireplace, and then our water heater is gas as well. So in the summertime, when we're not running those things, the gas price is really minimal. I mean, it's, you know, a few dollars a month because we're just using it for the water heater. In the wintertime, we do use the gas fireplace and the heat, see gas prices go around $130 to $150 a month if it's cold. This past month, we just had a little bit of a cold snap that we have typically in the wintertime, and my gas bill was $149 for that month. That's the highest that it's been since I've been here. I've been in this house for a little over a year now, so just have gone through one winter with the gas prices, but that's the highest that it's been. I anticipate, if we have a little bit more mild winter, that will be much less, probably in that $70 a month range, and maybe $80. Water bill, I have, again, myself and 2 teenage sons. My son is in wrestling, so he showers a couple times a day. I think for 3 people, we go through a lot of water. Our water bill here is about $50 a month. They're billed by the city every other month, so we're paying about $100, $108 every other month for water and sewer. On the internet side, it's really typical what you see from most places here, the great introductory price, and then it kind of creeps up over time. Spectrum is the main internet provider here, but good news, there is competition with actual good high-speed internet. Fiber optics are coming all through the area through Lumos and AT&T, which is starting to drive those prices down, which is good. I just got with AT&T fiber directly to my house for $80 a month, but they'll have those introductory offers, where it's $50 a month at first, and then just kind of they creep up till you complain from there, but it's kind of in line with the rest of the country on internet. All right, next are income taxes and property taxes in North Carolina. This is another spot where the state is doing really well, because actually income tax has gone down the last few years. So the state has a flat income tax that's been decreasing the last few years. In 2025, it's going to be a flat 4.25%. In 2026 and beyond, it's going to be 3.99. So good news, income tax is actually going down in the state of North Carolina. There are no inheritance or estate taxes here. Certain types of pensions aren't taxed. So overall, I think really, really friendly as far as personal income tax goes. And if you own a business, North Carolina is doing similar. They're doing with the personal income tax rate. They're doing with the corporate tax rate. It's going down about 1/4% every year for a certain amount of time. So again, overall, I believe really tax friendly on the income tax side. On the property tax side of the equation, I think North Carolina does really well. Now, I moved from, the suburbs of Chicago and Illinois, so almost everywhere is going to be cheaper than that. But I help clients from all over the country move here, and they often remark on how low the property taxes are here. In Winston-Salem itself, you'll be able to see them if you're looking on Zillow or Realtor or Redfin. You'll be able to see the property taxes. The one thing I would just say on there, if you're looking at new construction, just be a little bit careful with that, because new construction here is just taxed on the lot value. So when you're looking, you're going to see an absurdly low number, like, $30 a month or something like that. That's not going to be what your property taxes are. A general rule of thumb, and again, general only, is, if you're looking at a new construction house, plan on your taxes being, 0.7 to 1% of the sales price. So a $500,000 house, $3,500 to $5,000 a year in property taxes. That's not how they're calculated, but that's just kind of a good rule of thumb to go off of. Now, I will say, if you live in Davidson County in Winston-Salem, we just talked about this on the neighborhood video. So part of Winston-Salem is in Davidson County. Taxes there are much less. I see them sometimes where they're half of what they are in Forsyth County. But the important thing to know overall is property taxes here tend to, from my experience and talking to other clients, be much more affordable here versus other places. I have heard if you're coming from Arizona, they have lower property taxes there when they're compared to here, but again, overall, most of the feedback is property taxes here are really affordable. All right, next we're going to talk about car insurance and homeowners insurance. This is another place where Winston-Salem area does really, really well in the cost of living. I've found that the cost of insurance here is much more affordable than many other places. Clients often remark to me on this, and that's for home and auto. And just to give you some rough ideas, I'm not an insurance agent, but just what I hear from clients, on up to a $500,000 house, plan on $1,200 to $1,500 a year for homeowners insurance. Much more affordable than, especially like if you're in Florida or Texas, I hear is really expensive. So really affordable on the homeowner insurance front. And it's a similar story that I hear with auto insurance, generally more affordable here when people are telling me they're comparing it to other areas. There's one thing to know about North Carolina: if you have kids and they're going to be driving. And I might be saying this a little bit incorrect, but the general point is accurate. Kids in North Carolina go on their parents' auto insurance for, right now it's 3 years. I believe starting in 2025, it's going to be for 5 years. And they're obviously considered a higher risk group. So if you're going to put them on the one family car, be prepared for that number to go up quite a bit. So they call them inexperienced drivers, and it doesn't matter if they're kids or if you lived in New York and you're 40 years old, but you never drove before. When you come here, you're considered an inexperienced driver for that number of years, and your rates will be higher. But if you're adding kids on there, just be prepared for that. What I've found was more cost effective for me to do, and what most people do here, is they'll buy a really inexpensive car for their children. And then if you're only getting liability or even full coverage, in our case for the car that we got for my sons, is much more affordable on a lower priced car than the, nicer family car. So just kind of a heads up on the auto insurance thing. Get some quotes from a couple different people, but overall, really good feedback on the cost here. We're going to talk about childcare in just a minute, but first I just want to talk really quick about, just the miscellaneous fees and all the other things that just kind of don't add up. Winston-Salem, the cost of living here really shines in that regard. The big one that I remember is public schools. When I lived in Illinois, we had to pay all these extra fees, even though public school is free. It was like a book fee, a registration fee, a this fee, a that fee. Well, they don't have them here, which was really refreshing. There's also not a lot of other little junk fees tacked on to everything else. So when you look at, the cost of parking and all those different, just those little miscellaneous things, generally much more affordable. Renewing your driver's license here is a little bit more affordable as well. So you don't get, in my experience, and just again talking to other clients, you don't get nickel and dimed as much on all these other little fees that you pay here that do add up over time. Next, talking about childcare, this is another one where I get some kind of mixed reports, and the cost of childcare, I will say here, has gone up quite a bit. There is kind of a shortage. So my first feedback to you, if you're looking for childcare in Winston-Salem, is to start planning on that early. And if you're thinking about starting a business and you're into childcare, that might be a really good one to start because it's needed pretty bad. We don't have the huge influx of population here like, Raleigh or Charlotte does, but we have been steadily growing at a couple % per year, which does add to the population, and we do need more childcare than we have. And this was another one to, when you're looking online, like comparing, of the national average and stuff like that, there was some just kind of mixed signals on that. I will tell you from just talking to different clients, and they have, the ones that have full-time childcare, they're paying, between $600 and $900 a month is kind of what I heard the most. And that's going to vary, is it at a daycare center or is it in home and different things like that. Obviously there are, ways that could be different, but those are the numbers. That's kind of the range that I heard the most when I talked to people about that. And if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate anywhere in Winston-Salem or the surrounding area, I'd love to be a resource for you. You can reach out to me directly at jeff@govalentino.com. Thanks.